Hello, Alan and Nieves, and welcome
Hello.
back to
Hello.
Love and Money, Chapter 4. So we've already read 3 chapters, and we're going to continue with the story to help our viewers, motivating them to read by themselves maybe, or with us, some very easy part of the book. So this is for beginners and it's level 1. So Alan, could you be so kind and let's continue with chapter 4 of Love and Money.
Okay, right. The police arrived very quickly. There were a lot of them. Some of them with cameras went upstairs to Molly's room. 2 detectives talked to Dr. Pratt in the kitchen. The family waited in the sitting room. It was a hot day again and the windows were open. The dog sat quietly at Diana's feet. Nobody talked. Jackie smoked. They waited for a long time. Suddenly, the door opened and 2 detectives came in. Good morning. I am Detective Inspector Walsh, and this is Sergeant Foster. The inspector did not smile.
Right. So to remind our viewers, Molly is the mother, and they've all gathered together to celebrate her 50th birthday at a dinner. Dr. Pratt is the family doctor. Diana is the youngest daughter, and Jackie is the eldest. And there is a brother also. So there has been a murder in the previous chapters,
Right.
and someone has murdered Molly, the mother. So we will continue to see what happens next. Off you go, Nieves.
He was a big man in an all-black suit and a black hat and coat. He wore a coat because he always felt cold. Last night, someone put a sleeping tablet in Miss Clacton's hot meal. We're going to question everybody and we need a room, please. Roger stood up. I'm Roger Clacton. You can have my father's old office. Come with me. It's alone here. The office was not a very big room, but there was a table and 3 or 4 chairs. Roger opened the window. I would like to talk first to your uncle, Albert Kent, Inspector Walsh said. He took off his hat and coat and sat down behind the table. Of course, said Roger, and left the room.
So now here we meet the brother Roger. And the uncle Albert was Molly's brother-in-law. He is married to Annie, I think her name is, and she is Molly's older sister. Off you go, Alan.
Sergeant Foster waited by the door. He was a very tall young man with black hair and a nice smile. He was not very happy this morning because he usually played tennis on Sunday mornings. He was one of the best players at Cambridge Tennis Club. Albert came in and sat down. I'm going to ask some questions, Mr. King, the inspector said, and Sergeant Foster is going to write it all down. Albert looked at his feet. Yes, it's your job. I know that. Tell me about last night, Inspector Walsh asked quietly. You were angry with Mrs. Clarkson.
So here, Alan, we can see a picture. What do you think is in this picture that we can see?
Well, obviously you can see the inspector there with his notebook questioning the gentleman in the chair, whose name I can't remember now. But he's obviously been giving him a bit of a grilling as to what happened on that particular night.
He doesn't look very confident, does he?
No, you see, he's really looking very worried. You see the furrows in his brow, and he's looking really quite stressed about it all.
He even looks guilty, maybe.
Maybe we'll have to find out, won't we?
So the man in front of him would be called the sergeant inspector. No, the inspector is more than the other policeman. I get very confused sometimes.
Mr. King is the inspector, yes.
So depending on your rank, you would have different names. So here we've got a sergeant, which is maybe the man taking the notes down. And then we have the inspector, who I think is the one asking the questions. Right, off you go, Nieves.
Albert looked at Inspector Walls for the first time. Yes, I was. Everyone was angry. Roger was angry. Diane wanted money to go to America. Then there is a man called Tonbridge. He wants half the garden for his farm. Molly was a rich woman. I need money because my wife Annie, Molly's sister, is very ill. I told Molly this. What happened next? Well, Molly was angry with everyone and went upstairs. We went into the kitchen for coffee. Jackie wanted everyone to go up and say goodnight to Molly. She lives here with Molly, so she wanted Molly to be happy. At first, Roger said no. He was angry and didn't want to see his mother. And did you see Molly in her room? Yes, I was tired and I went upstairs first. I went to Molly's room and asked her for money again. But no, there was no money for her sister. Albert stopped and put his hand over his eyes. Inspector Wells watched Albert for a minute. Do you hear noises after you went to bed?
Right, Alan.
Everybody went into Molly's room to say goodnight, I think. Later, I heard someone. He or she went downstairs. That was about midnight. Very well, Mr. King. Thank you. You can go now. Albert left the room. Inspector Walsh put his hands behind his head. What time is it? I'm hungry. We're learning a lot, but I need some coffee. Shall I go to the kitchen? Dr. Sergeant Foster asked. Oh no, later. Let's see Jackie Clarkson next. Jackie came in and sat down. She looked down at her hands and said nothing. We found the empty bottle of your mother's sleeping tablets in Diana's room, the inspector said suddenly. Then he waited. Jackie's face did not change and she said nothing. Tell me, did your mother get her tablets from the shop in the village?
So they're all looking guilty.
Yes, my goodness.
Or very nervous. Guilty or nervous, I don't know what it is. So nobody's looking directly at the policeman. Off you go, Nieves.
Yes, my mother usually took a sleeping tablet every night, so she needed a lot of tablets. Sometimes she got them for the shop, sometimes I did. On Thursday, I asked Peter Hope to get them. He lives in the house across the road, and he often goes to the village on his bicycle. I see. Your mother wanted to stay in this house. How about you? Do you want to move?
Jackie looked up for a minute and then down at her hands again. This is Mother's house. I love my mother. She was good to me. Did you see your mother in her room last night? Yes, everyone did. Diana made hot milk and took it to Mother. She usually drank a cup of milk before she slept. Inspector Walsh put his hands behind his head. Jackie was very quiet. What did your mother say? Jackie opened her bag and looked for a cigarette. Can I smoke? Of course, this is your house, Inspector Walsh said. He watched Jackie. What did your mother say? He asked.
So we still don't know who it is.
No, it's the plot thickens.
Right, go on then, Nieves.
She wanted to go downstairs again. She remembered the dogs. She wanted to get some dinner for them. I went to my room and she went downstairs. What time was it? I don't remember. About midnight, I think. The cup of hot milk. It was on the table by her bed. Do you need your mother's money? No, Inspector. Money is not important to me. There are more important things, Jackie said quietly. Well, your Uncle Albert wanted money. Tom Branch wanted the garden. You wanted nothing?
Right, go on, Al.
Jackie finished her cigarette and looked up at the inspector. Her eyes were suddenly angry. Don't forget Peter Hobbs. He lost his job because of my mother. He wanted to kill her, you know. And what about Diana? You found the empty bottle in her bag. Inspector Walsh listened carefully. We're going to question everyone, Miss Clarkson. Jackson said nothing for a minute. Would you like some sandwiches and coffee, Inspector? Ah, yes, please, Inspector Walsh said warmly. I would like sandwiches and coffee very much. Jackie left the room. Inspector Walsh thought about her. Why was she suddenly angry? The room was quiet.
So, any ideas?
Oh, not yet, no. It could be anybody.
Right then, so we have finished now that chapter and we will leave it there for today. And we'll come back and read the next chapter another time. Okay, see you later. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.